Most of the time when we think ClickUp tasks, we think about the actual tasks or the action items that we have to complete or tracking those things inside ClickUp. But as ClickUp evolved, they built functionality to allow us not only to track our tasks or action items, but to basically track anything that we want inside our ClickUp account. So in this video, we will be breaking down what ClickUp Custom Task Types are, how to find them, and how to set them up inside your ClickUp workspace. So let's dive into this. So in order to demonstrate to you this task type feature in ClickUp, I put together a very simple structure inside my ClickUp workspace. I called it an HR space. So this is going to be everything related to human resources, which is kind of a most generic process throughout different types of companies out there. Inside that space, I'm going to have a folder, which is going to be specific to a hiring and onboarding process or a workflow that's going to consist different job openings and applications that I want to track. And I'm also going to have admin tasks list. So this is the place where I'll be tracking all my human resources, admin tasks throughout my company. Let's go and start reviewing what are the admin tasks that I have in place in there. So if I go to my workspace here, I have my HR space, hiring and onboarding folder here with my two lists that I'm going to review in just a second. And we're going to start with our admin tasks list over here. Now, as part of this list, I have a bunch of tasks here, and each of them is actually representing the task that I have to do. So if I were to read one of them, clean up all candidate profiles and archive outdated records. Now, this is a very specific task that needs to be completed. As you can see, I'm assigned to this task. I also have a due date by when I need to complete this task. So again, in all of these items over here, essentially for me to complete. And as you can see, the statuses that we have here are respective to the action items or the tasks that we have. It's like to do, in progress, or complete. Now, this is the way many ClickUp users are using their ClickUp accounts and are setting up their ClickUp structures, and there is nothing wrong with that. We have to keep track of all the action items and tasks that we are working on. But again, ClickUp, as it evolved, it allows us to track so much more. And this is actually the part that many people are missing on. This is why now let's go to the second part of the structure and actually review the hiring and onboarding folder that I put together, where we're not storing necessarily the tasks that we have to complete, but we are storing the deliverables, which are the job openings and the applications that we're processing throughout the hiring and onboarding workflow. Now let's go and have a look at this hiring and onboarding folder here. As we mentioned, it contains two main lists, which basically contain two deliverables that we're tracking throughout this process. One is going to be job openings, the other one is going to be applications. So in this example for applications, inside this list, as you can see, we don't have any tasks that are actual tasks or action items for us. We're not tracking anything that would say send an invitation to Emily, or for example, invite more candidates to this job opening, right? In this list, we're only tracking applications. We're only tracking a very specific task type. And as you can see, these specific tasks are going through very specific statuses, which are part of the workflow. There we have receiving new application. They're going through the screening part of the workflow. We're shortlisting them. We're inviting them to the interview, and we're sending them the offer. The same thing happens with the job openings here. This list is used to track a very specific task type, which is in this example called job openings. It's not applications anymore. As you can see here, we don't have any information about job applications. We only have records that represent job openings. So if I were to open our HR generalist, as you can see over here, statuses essentially representing the workflow that this job opening is going through as part of our hiring and onboarding process. And again, the main thing is it's very different from what we have inside our applications and even inside our admin tasks. It's not a to-do, in progress, and complete simple statuses anymore. It's a little bit more complex and aligned with the actual process that we have behind this ClickUp structure. But now becomes the question, what if we want to keep track of our admin tasks in one list, at the same time keeping track of the applications and job openings in two other lists that I showed you previously? Now, ClickUp built a functionality that they call Custom Task Types. And the way to access that, if you need just to navigate to one of the lists and one of the tasks inside your ClickUp account, let's just review the job opening example here. And I'm going to click on that task. And here at the top left corner, you will see a drop dropdown. This dropdown says task types, and it lets you select from multiple task types that again are either predefined by ClickUp, like tasks, milestones, applications, and form responses, or you can also create your task type manually. And this is kind of the custom task type that you're creating. This is what I did for the job opening. I just put my name here. I selected a different icon here, which can be helpful when again differentiating between different types of records that you're storing inside your ClickUp, especially as that number goes up over the time that you're using ClickUp. And you can also have the singular name, you have the plural name here, and put some description for the task type over here. Now, as you create this, you can also assign the task type to different tasks. So this way, inside my list of job openings, I know that all my tasks that I'm creating are actually representing job openings. So this is why I have my task type selected over here. For example, with the applications, that's going to be a different scenario because I have my applications created there. So this is where I have the application custom task type created and selected for all the tasks that are part of that specific list and of that specific location. Now, if we were to go to the very first list that we reviewed together, which was the admin tasks, over here, if we open the task, you can see that the task itself has the default task type, which is called tasks. And in this example, again, it represents the actual tasks or the actual action items that we need to complete. So this way, when I'm looking at this 3 different lists and I'm presenting this to either my clients, my customers, or maybe someone internal from my team, everyone understands what those records actually mean and what are those records actually used for. Now, you can also access custom task types by navigating to your settings of the workspace and going on the left of your settings here, you can see the task types here, and you can create those task types again manually, or you can even select from the recommended ones from the ClickUp. But again, the beauty of the task types is that you can align it with your specific workflows and with your specific processes and make ClickUp actually align with the way you want to track and manage your work. I think there is one more point that is worth mentioning, and this is assigning a default task type to your list. So for example, inside my job openings list, as we discussed previously, I only want to track job openings as my task. So in this example, every time I create a new task, I do not want to create a task and then convert it to a job opening. I wanted to assign the job opening task type from the very beginning. I can click on the 3 dots to the right of my list name over here and go to the default task type here. And this way I can select what is the task type that gets created inside that list. And as soon as you change that value here, you can see that the button for adding the task at the top right corner is also going to change. It's going to say the add job opening, for example. Here the button also says add job opening. And for example, here at the bottom, the verbiage changed from the task to job opening. The same happens with the application here. As I go to my default task type, I selected the application, while inside my admin list, I actually left the default task type to be a simple task. Now, there is one more thing that I think is very important when it comes to actually tracking those deliverables and tracking those items and custom task types inside your ClickUp account, and this is the use of subtasks. Now, this is kind of different from the topic of the custom task types, but I still want to mention it because many times it is confusing to many people of how to make subtasks work together with the main tasks when you're not tracking just the task, but you're tracking the different types of deliverables or projects or whatever the case might be. So let's just take, for example, my job opening list over here. Some people would recommend or would say that instead of having the admin tasks or all the action items that are actually working on and they want to keep their due dates and the assignees, they want to, instead of having a separate list for those tasks, they want to create them as subtasks for example, for sales development representative. And they want to list all the things that they need to do in order to make that job post live, for example, or to invite candidates. They need to create a draft, they need to approve that draft. All of that has to happen in order to hire people and to make this sales development representative job opening live and active. So what you might want to do, you might want to create a subtask and say, for example, create a draft. As you can see over here, because we selected a default task type as job opening, the subtask that we create for the main task still gets created with the same task type, with this job opening. And again, if you're listing this as an action item for you, this becomes confusing. And for many team members, this probably will be confusing of why are you saying create a draft and you're setting this task type to job opening here. Now, if you wanted to still keep track of tasks as subtasks, you might want to change this to tasks. But the two main problems that I have with subtasks while tracking the custom deliverables is that the statuses are actually going to be the same as you have for the main task. So statuses here are representing the workflow that the job opening is going through as we're completing the hiring and onboarding process. And the same happens with the custom fields. The custom fields are aligned with what we want to track inside the job openings. It's not specific to the action items or to the tasks that we're completing. So over here, as you can see, the statuses are not reflecting the actual task statuses that I want to have. They do not show the to-do in progress completed. They show statuses that are specific to the job opening. So I want you to be mindful of that because I do not recommend using subtasks when tracking custom deliverables. Subtasks work well when you're using them for actual tasks. So if I were to use subtasks in the admin list, right, that would probably make sense because I can say prepare onboarding welcome materials. This is the main task, which is a big task, big chunk of work. And I want to breaking down into three main subtasks: prepare a folder, create a checklist, refine system access. Now, all of these things are still the same task type. There are still regular tasks that I have to complete. They can have their own assignments and their own due dates, but they kind of break down the bigger task, which is the main task, into smaller chunks of work, which makes total sense. But while tracking the custom deliverables inside your ClickUp, be mindful that subtasks might not be the best fit for you just because of the subtasks and the custom fields that are still staying the same as the main task inside your list. Now, instead of using the subtask here, what I highly recommend is you either use a separate list for tracking all the actual tasks that you need to complete, and you just link those tasks together between the job openings, for example, and admin tasks, or you can also create an action item. Action item allows you to create simple checklist that will basically describe what needs to happen throughout every single stage of the process as this job opening goes from draft into awaiting approval, into ready to post, into posted, and into position filled. Now, again, all of this can be described in the checklist, and you can save yourself some headache over not creating this subtasks and kind of, again, trying to fit it all together with the job openings as well as the action items that you want to track inside the subtasks here. ClickUp Task Types help you track whatever you want inside your ClickUp account, and I hope this video broke it down and helped you understand more of how this can apply to your specific ClickUp use case and also to your specific ClickUp structure. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.